say food is freedom. So why are we strangling the men and women who grow it? Every year, more small farms close their gates for good. Between 2017 and 2022, over 141,000 farms disappeared from the American landscape. That's not just a statistic. That's generations of families gone. That's barns falling silent, fences rusting, and soil left untouched. I say that, but I don't believe the soil is left untouched. We'll get into the big farms in a minute. And most of those farms weren't $1 million agribusinesses. They were your neighbors, maybe even your own blood. Folks making under 5 grand a year, trying to keep land in their family, put food on the table, and maybe just maybe pass on something worth holding on to. But the government made sure that wasn't easy. Let's talk about these farmers up against it. Food Safety Modernization Act. Sounds good, right? But for small operations trying to sell some jam at the farmer's market, it means permits, inspections, and fees they can't afford. Groundwater restrictions in California. Ranchers can't even water their own crops without reporting it to the state. And that's if they're not outright banned from pumping. Carbon credit bull. Yet, environmental laws meant to help the planet are now subsidizing factory farms in other states while choking out local farms and ranches. All the while, corporate farms buy up land, automate operations, and rake in federal subsidies. The federal government pays the big farms, the big farming businesses, and they wipe out the little ones. It feels like they want us gone, like they'd rather see concrete than cornfields. Maybe that's the truth. They just don't say it out loud. There's a reason they call it the flyover states. There's a reason they call it the rural hoods, the agri communities, the rurals. As the last governor, the governor prior to this governor in the state of Nevada, his name was Sisolak. That man said the word, I won't do anything for the rural communities. None of them voted for me. That's the way these politicians think. Big farms win, we lose. From 2012 to now, the number of farms earning over $1 million a year went up 36%. Meanwhile, the smallest farms, the heart and soul of rural America, the place that those big politicians don't like, are dropping like flies. They want efficiency. We want legacy. Big ag can hire lawyers, accountants, and lobbyists to navigate the maze of regulations. But the guy with sunburned neck and a borrowed tractor, he's got to learn food law, water policy, pesticide compliance, and labor code just to keep planting a farm. I grew up in a place where farming wasn't just a job, it was an identity. I'm from Idaho. There's nobody that doesn't say, oh, do you grow potatoes? Yeah, of course I did. Everybody does. Nobody does anything else. That's all we do. But our town farming was an identity, and the reality is they're being choked out too. The big farmers, they've been taken over for a while. I talk to men that say things like, I had to sell my last cow because the butcher was booked out 8 months. This is actually going on in my community currently. It has been for a few years. The county actually refused to give a permit to a company that wanted to open a new yard where you could get your animals processed. They denied that application. I had 3 pigs that lived way too long because I couldn't find anybody to butcher them. I could have done it. I didn't want to. And it made me mad that we were passing laws that made it hard for me to even get a pig that I raised with no antibiotics, fully organic, good, healthy animal, and I couldn't get it butchered. USDA says I can't process my own meat and sell it at the dinner or at the diner unless I've got $1 million facility. Now that's a fact. Even when I could get it butchered, who I got it butchered from, I still couldn't sell that to a store or sell it to a market. That's got to be done in $1 million facility. Truth be told, most farms are cleaner than those facilities. The animals are treated better, I guarantee you that. This country says it respects farmers, but the numbers don't lie. Regulations are killing small farms, policies are rewarding corporations, and families are losing the very thing that the country was built on, the right to live free off the land they work. You shouldn't need a lawyer to sell eggs. You shouldn't need a permit to build a damn fence. But here we are. But in the middle of the red tape, there's a glimmer of hope. A very small one, but there is a glimmer of hope. One law at a time, some folks are starting to push back. We call it cottage freedom. Next up, we're going to talk about the home kitchen heroes finding a way to survive the system and maybe even change it. When the USDA shuts doors, some folks crack open their kitchens, windows, and keep going anyway. Not everyone has 500 acres, a crew of laborers, a tractor worth more than their house, but that doesn't mean they don't give a grit and they have skill and they have something worth selling. Enter the cottage food laws. The quiet revolution helping blue collar Americans fight back against a system built for the big guys. These laws let people sell homemade, low risk foods made in their own kitchens without needing $1 million commercial facility. Bread, jam, honey, dried herbs, beef, jerky in some states, real food made by real hands. What it means for the blue collar hustler. They say you're a single mom with 3 kids and a sourdough starter passed down from grandma, or you're a rancher who smokes beef jerky from the cuts nobody else wants. Cottage laws let you start small, build something local, something honest, without going into debt just to file paperwork. It's a side income, it's survival, it's freedom, the way it used to be. It ain't about becoming rich, it's about not giving up. Some states are getting it right. Wyoming, one of the best. Practically no restrictions under the Food Freedom Act. Texas, you can sell from home at markets and even ship within the state. Utah, Montana, Arizona, all giving working families a real shot to succeed. But then there's these other states. They still treat you like you're a criminal. California has a two-tier system, lots of hoops, and strict labeling laws. New Jersey only recently passed cottage laws, still very limited. New York, you better have a permit, inspection, and a whole lot of patience. These are the same states with the highest taxes, strictest 2A laws, and most suffocating building codes. They talk about equity, but they write laws that crush the very people trying to climb out. I make $300 a week selling homemade salsa. That keeps my lights on, says a lady I talked to. The government said I needed a food license in a commercial kitchen. I said I've got 4 kids in a crock pot. Take it or leave it. These stories aren't rare. They're just not heard enough. Cottage laws are more than just legal loopholes. They're a form of resistance. They're a return to common sense. And they're one of the last lifelines we've got in the system rigged against the working man. Minimum wage, maximum damage. While some states are loosening their grip, others are tightening the screws on small business. Because once you start selling, once you start growing, they want their cut. Next up, we're talking about the rise of minimum wage and the laws that are choking out the very businesses they're supposed to protect. They told us raising the wage would help the little guy, but somehow the little guy keeps getting crushed. On paper, it sounds noble. Raise the minimum wage, help people make ends meet. But in practice, it's not working out that way. What it's actually doing is pushing mom and pop farms, ranches, and shops right off the edge. Let's be real. Walmart can afford $20 an hour. Your neighborhood with 10 your neighbor with 10 cows in a part-time roadside stand, he can't afford that. The numbers don't lie. Washington State, 1666. Does that seem appropriate to anybody? Anybody hear that number? 1666. Washington State. California, 1650, 1650. New York, 1650. Connecticut, 1635. Oregon, 1595. New Jersey, 1549. Massachusetts, $15 even. Illinois, $15. Maryland, $15. Rhode Island, $15. Every single one of them, also some of the most regulated tax and anti-2A place in the country. The farmer in Oregon, he used to hire teens for his summer picking. Now he does it all on his own. He says, I can't afford $17 an hour plus payroll tax and insurance. A rancher in California had to let go of his hired hand after 12 years, not because of performance, because of policy. And it's not just the wage, it's what comes with it. Higher payroll taxes, workers' compensation, compliance paperwork, penalties for misclassification, raising the wage till it lifts us up is priced us out. Here's the truth. They don't talk about this on the cable news. Minimum wage hikes every entry level job. It hurts every new business. They kill apprenticeships, destroy the ability for small business owners to train the next generation, and make every homegrown hustle a legal liability. You used to be able to pay a kid $10 an hour cash to stack hay. Now you better have a contract, an insurance policy, and a damn lawyer. This isn't helping the poor. It's locking them out of opportunity. This all adds up. First, they raise the minimum wage. Then they raise the taxes. Now they want to regulate how you hire, fire, sell, and build. It's all connected. And it's always the small operator who gets squeezed. Here's the kicker: the same states taxing your work, regulating your land, and choking your business, they're also for your right to defend it. They want your land regulated, they want your wages fixed, they want your food licensed, and now they want your guns registered, restricted, and removed. Here's a pattern you can't ignore. The same states that shut down your cottage businesses, restricted your water, taxed your earnings, and permitted your sheds, they also they're also the first ones to chip away at your Second Amendment rights. They don't want you to fight back, right? That's what it all comes down to. Quinn said it's not a damn chance. The top 10 most anti 2A states in 2024, 2025. So this is very current numbers. California, number one, Democrat controlled. Massachusetts, number two, Democrat controlled. Illinois, number three, Democrat controlled. New York, Democrat controlled. New Jersey, Democrat. Hawaii, Democrat. Maryland, Democrat. Washington State, Democrat. Connecticut, Democrat. Oregon, Democrat. These are the same states with the highest minimum wage, the strictest building codes, heaviest ag and ranch regulations, with insanely high taxes. That's not a pattern. That's a plan. Why does 2A matter to the farmers? It's not about just crime and self defense in the city. It's about ranchers miles from the nearest cop who need to protect their livestock, his family, and his land. It's about the farmer who can't rely on 911, but can rely on a sidearm when a predator or two legged threat comes down the gravel road. It's about deterrence, independence, sovereignty. When the state controls your food, your water, your money, and your weapons, that ain't freedom. That ain't freedom. Gun laws target the wrong people. Mandatory registration, red flag laws with no due process, magazine limits, background check loopholes, bans on modern rifles, and somehow none of these laws ever stop criminals. Shocking, right? But they sure keep the honest folks tangled in red tape and fear of prosecution. A blue collar patriot dilemma. The truth be told, most of the good, hardworking blue collar folks actually are very law abiding. They have strong moral backgrounds. They're usually pretty good. So we're told just follow the law. But the laws change. They twist them, they tweak them, they weaponize them. I hear the left saying a lot that politics are weaponized today in today's America. Y'all have been weaponizing the law for 20 years, actually 100, but the last 20 has gotten brutal with climate change, with gun grabs, with higher minimum wage, with more regulation on farmers, with more regulation on ranchers, more regulation on building codes, more regulation on property. At some point, you're going to charge us for the oxygen that's in our property somewhere. At this point, nobody ever owns a home. You can walk by with eminent domain and take it away. Yet we live in a free country, right? It's not about gun safety. It's about power and who they want to have it. The largest army in the world is the American hunter. It's a proven fact. No country in the world has more guns. There's not more people in the world that have the ability to use them in a proper way. The second largest army in the world is the American blue collar group of people. Most of them are trained, most of them understand the use, and most of them know how to use them. At some point, the people that make the world go round are going to take the gavel away from the people who act like they make the world go round. That'll be a special day. So let's stop pretending it's all a coincidence. There's wars being waged, not with bullets, but with policy, permits, penalties. And the battlefield, it's your wallet, your land, and your front porch. This ain't just policy, it's a war per se. And every blue collar worker, farmer, welder, lineman, dispatcher, mechanic is stuck in the front line. Let's call it as what it is. It's a slow war on working class freedom. It doesn't come from bombs or tanks. It comes from zoning boards, permit fees, tax hikes, labor audits, gun laws, green energy mandates. It's fought in courtrooms, not trenches. It's enforced with fines, not fists. But make no mistake, it's a war. And who's taking the hits? Not the elite, not the corporations, not the politicians. It's the plumber with 3 kids, the widow trying to rent out her land, the rancher who can't afford another year of drought and compliance letters. Blue collar folks are caught in the squeeze play. Taxes go up, wages get capped, property gets right shrink, food costs rise, fuel's a fortune, insurance is insane, and the same people pushing all those policies, they got beachfront properties, pensions, and private security with guns all around them. Meanwhile, you've got busted boots, calloused hands, and the feeling in your gut that something ain't freaking right anymore. We built this country, we bled for this country, and now they treat us like we don't belong in it. What we're really fighting for, this isn't just about your checkbook or your gun safe. It's about your legacy. The right to pass land to your kids, the right to live off what you grow, the right to defend your property, the right to build something from nothing, the right to be owned by the system if they continue. They want us compliant. We just want to be left the hell alone. I still want to tell you where to build, what kind of roof to put on, and how much to pay just to pour concrete on your own land. You bought the land, you paid the taxes, but somehow you still need permission to build a damn chicken coop. There was a time in this country when you could buy a piece of land and build your dream with nothing but sweat and skill. Now you need permits, soil tests, zoning approval, energy compliance, architectural sign off, A damn folder full of red tape just to build a 12 by 20 pole barn. In many high regulation states, even rural homeowners face $10,000 in permit and compliance fees. Minimum square footage laws that ban tiny homes. Energy mandates that require solar panels, insulated plumbing, and more. Septic systems engineered even off from land within 50 acres of no neighbors in sight. All in the name of safety. But ask yourself this: who are they protecting? Because it ain't the working man trying to build a shop on his land. California requires building permits for structures over 120 square feet, including sheds and single room cabins. Oregon, if you install a wood stove, you need a licensed contractor, a state permit, and sometimes an emission test. New York off the grid builds are often denied unless you agree to hook up to power and water. Utilities? You're required. Is that freedom? Colorado, Front Range counties building a hunting cabin. You need stamped blueprints, a fire access road, and $18,000 in review fees. Trying to live simply, yet suddenly you're a target. No septic denied. No utility hookup denied. Want to use a composting toilet and rainwater collection? Depends on your zip code. In some places, people have been fined, sued, or even arrested for trying to live independently on their own land. We're not just overregulated, we're being boxed in. What the reality is, this isn't about safety. It's 100% about control. If you need their permission to build, to live, to farm, to sell, to defend it all, then you don't really own anything. You're renting your freedom from a system that doesn't want you to have it. The American dream used to be 5 acres and a barn. Now it's 5 applications and a fine. So now you're regulated, restricted, and inspected. But don't worry, they still send you the tax bill. They tax your land, your tools, your truck, your work. And then they tell you you're lucky to live free. Let's not dance around it. The state with the most regulations, the strictest gun laws, the highest minimum wage, and the worst building codes, they're also the ones taxing blue collar families to death. Top 10 states in taxes: California, 13.5%, New York, 12.8, New Jersey, 12.2, Illinois, 11.5, Connecticut, 11.1, Oregon, 10.9, Maryland, 10.6, Vermont, 10.4, Massachusetts, 10.2, and Minnesota at 10%. All Democrat ran states. But you keep voting them for them, right? In California, they actually had something on the ballot that it talked about a gas tax that had sunsetted, but the highway project haven't been done because the money was wasted. It wasn't actually used to do the job. It was used to pay a bunch of bureaucrats to do paperwork and red tape. So the job never actually got started. That state and the people in that state actually voted yes to approve that again and paid those taxes again for the next 4 years. Please help them. Property taxes so high you can't afford to keep the land in the family. Gas taxes that make every trip to town budget decision. Sales taxes on everything from boots to baby formula. Income taxes that punish overtime and side hustles. They tax your hustle, then fine you for not hustling hard enough. And what do we get in return? Failing roads, broken schools, empty promises, and more people leaving than staying. Freedom migration is real. Thousands of working class families are packing up and leaving states like California, Illinois, and New York, heading to Texas, Florida, Tennessee, and South Dakota, where taxes are low. Freedom is high, and the government mostly minds their own damn business. But some folks can't move. The land is paid off. The roots run too deep. So they fight from where they are. And they need to know they're not alone. When your paycheck gets picked clean and your land's regulated and your business is strangled and your voice is ignored and you're not a citizen anymore, you're a tenant and the government is your landlord. But it doesn't have to stay that way. It starts with an awareness, it grows from community. It gets loud when people start speaking, building, and buying local again. You want pushback? Buy from the family farm, support cottage sellers, defend the Second Amendment, stand up to City Hall, and don't let the flame of freedom flicker out under permits and penalties. If this episode hit home, it's because you still believe in what's worth fighting for. We do too. That's why we built TaylorFamily.com and TaylorFamilyTools.com for the blue collar folks who ain't backing down. From our family to yours, God bless. Stay gritty, stay grounded, and we'll see you next time.